hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XIV. Sorry for the abrupt ending. But at least we got all that jam-packed cutscene into that vid. What'd you think of that sexy-ass cutscene anyway? Ooh, look! The Far Edge of Fate! The Far Edge of Fate! After this, we can do job quests! Oh, hell yeah! I like you, Geary. Apparently she was supposed to be way more involved and like travel along with you during Heavensward as well. But because her voice actress in Japan was murdered, I think she was murdered anyway. I know she died, but I'm pretty sure it was also a murder. She was murdered by her lover. They didn't have anyone else to stand in, and in sort of not only because of that, but also to sort of honor her, they decided to not have her character feature very much in Heavensward, or as much as she was supposed to. That's what I heard anyway. I don't know if I know the murder was real, or the death, but I don't really remember if the whole bit about them not including her as much was, you know, the real deal or the... Oh, look at that! Serpent seals. Oh, yeah. I want to confirm his chemistry and change it to this one because it's really hard with the way I have my squadron set up to get 3 of the same race. And the reason I want crafter scripts from this is because the scripts, you know, they can be used to purchase yellow script gear at 70. We won't get to do that till the end of the next expansion main storyline, but when we do get to do that, we'll be able to upgrade our crafter, which is Carpenter on Clyde, and if we get gathering scripts from my one squadron member that can get us gathering scripts, we'll be able to get better gathering gear too, essentially for free. So that's another reason to keep working on your squadrons this whole time. And I highly advise that you keep up with your squadrons. Because if nothing else, they at least get you the manuals that give you bonus EXP buffs and things. And those are incredibly important, especially if you don't have a free company, or if your free company doesn't give the buffs that you desire. Because there's a buffing manual for pretty much every free company buff. And the buffing manuals themselves, they last for, I think it's 2 hours, and we can just look. You know, it's, yeah, 2 hours, and it's a 20% bonus to EXP for crafting. The battle manual one's 15%. So they're the equivalent of a level 3 free company buff for 2 hours. So, you know. Enough times that you should join me on an adventure, or, you know, have a drink with me, maybe? Maybe go on a date? Yeah. It's okay, Amerik. How were you supposed to know that Asians would, retrieve them. Although I guess it was the Warriors of Darkness, but I mean, honestly, anyone could go down there in an airship with sufficient shielding on the airship. So, probably should have just, eaten them or cut them up or something. The Domans were heard to whisper the name Shinryu. It would appear that the being resembles a creature of Far Eastern legend, and we have found it convenient to refer to it as such. And if you're not familiar with the Japanese language, Shinryu means God Dragon, or Dragon God. So, yeah, his name is literally, the Dragon God, so... Clyde's like, damn it, Ilberd, but also, it's about time. Very well. We can go to East Shroud again. Any different dialogue? Nope. Very well, very well. Also, by the way, if you heard me say there in the cutscene that it was 2 Final Fantasy V references find each other.
My friends, I cannot well express how glad I am to see you both unharmed. They say that Omega's clash with the Primal shook the very firmament.
You need not have worried. The battle took place far above the ground. We were able to observe in relative safety, though I'm given to understand that there were casualties on the far side of the wall.
It was like watching a nightmare unfold before our very eyes. Ilburd's primal manifested in the form of a colossal dragon, a being of pure violence. It burst forth from the cocoon with such terrible force.
Pure violence, huh? Remember that. Remember that.
That such a horror should spring from the eyes of Nidhogg comes as no surprise. Nor do I wonder at its form. Ilberd all but announced it in the moments prior to his death. Plainly, it was his dying wish to visit a second calamity upon the Empire.
And I am quite certain the abomination would have obliged had it not found itself outmatched by Omega. Gods! I am no stranger to the works of Allag, but even I was unprepared for the machine's furiosity. It beggared belief.
I mean, honestly, it looked like a calculated battle plan to me, but...
And how fares poor Ida in the midst of all this? Have you spoken with her?
She is up on the platform, lost in thought. We deemed it best not to disturb her, but mayhaps she would welcome some company after all. Shall we?
Did you notice she lost her Scion tattoos? Which were apparently magical.
The light's gone. It was all we had left of him.
Ida.
I don't blame anyone. I knew what was going to happen. I knew the spell Papalimo meant to cast would drain away his life force. I knew that it would only buy us a little time.
You had all that hair underneath that thing with that headdress?
Ida, there is no need to explain.
But there is. I can't hide in Papalimo's little shadow anymore, and I shouldn't hide behind my sister's mask. 20 years ago, on the day the Empire marched into Alamigo, I was still just a child, not even 5 summers old. My father had been one of the leaders of the revolution. He had fought to overthrow the Mad King, Theodoric. And my sister had fought alongside him. But she was strong and kind, and always knew what to do. But when the Garleans came, everything changed. My father went to war against them too. And I never saw him again. After that, I remember a lot of running. My sister dragged me for malms and malms until we came to the city of Charlian. That was where she met Master Louis Soir. He introduced her to the Circle of Knowing, and she eventually became an Archon.
She was your inspiration. Is that not why you took up her mask and her name? Or did you simply mean to continue what she had started?
You've known all along, haven't you? That I wasn't Ida.
Of course. We all recognized you at once. 'Twas Papalimo who persuaded us to maintain the charade.
It was silly to think I could fool you. I knew that even then, but I sort of decided not to know. Ida died 6 years ago, on a mission to smuggle refugees out of Alamigo. They say she was overwhelmed by Imperial soldiers when she stayed behind to save a little girl. She was so strong, There must have been a lot of them.
6 years ago. With all the time has passed, does that match up with just before the calamity or just after? I guess we could ask her that, but like, why would we care? Like why would it matter to us? We never knew her sister, and like her actual identity to us as players and as people, and even as our character, it's like, well, that's her business. You know? It's sort of like a what the fuck moment, but you're just sort of like...
I'm sorry for lying to you. My real name is Lise. When Papalimo brought me Ida's mask, it was meant as a keepsake, but I decided I wanted to be his new partner, to keep alive all the good that she had done. I didn't want to become Ida, exactly. At the time, though, I still didn't know who I was myself, and it almost seemed easier to play the role.
It sounds stupid, but I guess 6 years ago, if we're going by the timeline they've established, 6 years ago she would have been just turned 18 or whatever, and she didn't get much of a childhood considering she spent, you know, her formative years on the run from the Empire. So she's got all sorts.
Papalimo agreed to help, of course, but it was never what he wanted for me. He wanted me to walk my own path, and those were his final words to me. The Archon's mark he gave me is faded, and my last excuse along with it. So this is it. Whatever I choose to do from now on, I do as Lise. And I choose to continue my family's fight. I want Alamigo to be the country that Ida and my father always wanted it to be.
A lot of players were incredibly upset by this decision.
War is upon us once more.
Do you regret standing against the Empire? Would you have chosen a different road, knowing what you know now?
To claim that I never doubted the decision would be a lie. But I made my choice, and I have defended it with blade in hand ever since.
The battle continues, and our steel is needed. Come, Shadow Walker, we leave for the east, for Doma.
Alright, so basically people were mad about this. Like, they, instead of viewing it as like a narrative twist or a narrative like expoundment or whatever that adds to the character, they viewed it as a oh look, another credit scene. Okay, let's speed this up. Okay, that's as fast as it's gonna go. But anyway, I guess I'll just talk to you about it while the credits roll here. Basically, they said it was pointless, that it detracted from the character, that they were going to ignore the name change and just refer to her as Ida. And you know, some of the complaints really are valid. Like, to the player, it really doesn't matter that her real name is Lise, right? Like, to the player, you know, it's effectively the same character. You know, she just was going by a moniker the whole time. It's kind of like knowing, you know, the past of a character in an older Final Fantasy. Like in Final Fantasy VI, for instance, there's a ninja character named Shadow, and if you get all of his dream sequence things, you learn that his name is Clyde. Clyde Arrowny. And, like, knowing that, you know, doesn't make you like him any less as Shadow, right? Like, it just adds depth to the character. So I think that's the sort of thing they were going for. It just sort of fell on its face because she was Ida for years in real time, right? Like, from 1.0, like, these characters have existed since 1.0. And 1.0 came out in late 2010. So she had been Ida by this point for 6 years in real time. Right? 6 years in real time. And then to have it revealed that all this time, you know, except for maybe the very, very beginning of 1.0 events, she's just actually been Lise, you know. Not actually an Archon of Charlian, not actually Ida, just, you know, this bumbling pugilist. And honestly, if you look back on the events with Ida, it all makes a lot of sense. Like, remember back after we killed Ramu, when the Scions were going over etheric, you know, aetherology and all that shit, and how she didn't seem to really understand it? You could say that was comic relief, but she's supposed to be an Archon of Charlian, the knowledge, or the nation of knowledge, right? She's supposed to have, an Archon is like their highest honor, sort of thing, you know. And the fact that she didn't know any of that plays into the fact that she's Lise, that she's not, no, that she's not the actual Ida. So I think it was, you know, it was obviously the kind of twist that no one could see coming at all, because it's out of left field. But at the same time, I think it's welcome, because it just makes you want to examine all the older moments with her and see if they were actually planning this, or if it was literally just a cop-out. And I think it was a little bit of both, but I think it was actually planned. Because according to the development team, they like to plan their expansions out years ahead of when they actually release. And you know that they would have to do that because they have to decide what the story is and what the bosses are going to be, and, you know, the storyboard, and write it all, and start coordinating efforts so they can get it done by the release deadline. You know, I don't know, it probably wasn't always the case back in 1.0. Like, back in 1.0, she was probably just supposed to be Ida, and Lise was like a, you know, it wasn't even the twinkling in an eye or anything, but I don't know. But another thing that makes it cool is that the fact that she is Lise, and that she's not an Archon, though, she's actually just extraordinarily skilled at combat. She's the best fighter that the Scions have. And this, you know this for a fact, because back in 1.0, when there's a cutscene where the Scions fought Gaius von Balsar. She's the only one who landed a hit. And by that point, the real Lise, or the real Ida, was dead. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. There's also some trailer controversy. Like, I probably won't watch the Stormblood trailer in this recording. And maybe not even the next one. But the the trailer for Stormblood shows a blonde girl in a red outfit, hand-to-hand fighting with the Warrior of Light. You know, they're both basically monks, right? And they've got like chi auras and stuff. It's, you know, it's like a fight scene out of Dragon Ball Z, except cooler. And people were speculating on who she was, what her job class was. They're like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? And a bunch of people were like, oh, it's Ida. And then other people were like, it can't be Ida. She doesn't have the neck tattoos. And like, well, what if there aren't neck tattoos? What if they're spray on or whatever? And so when this reveal happened, you know, the people who had been adamant that it was not Ida were just sort of like, they were pissed because it was, essentially. Even though, you know, she reveals that she's actually named Lise. And other people were pissed because they viewed the twist with Ida as a cop-out. They viewed it as basically they forgot to add her neck tattoos in the trailer. So rather than say, oh, sorry, we forgot about that, they just, you know, basically, you couldn't call it a retcon, right? But they just, it was like a current retcon. They sort of like, they covered their ass, basically. And I always thought that was a funny take. Because it could be true. Like, we don't know. They won't actually tell us. See, this is another reason I like Alice. She looks forward to joining hands with the Alamegans. And this is another reason, like this line right here, like she says, I suspect that you do too. It's another reason I suspect that canonically, the Warrior of Light, I know they didn't want to, you know, the point of, you know, being an everyman character and being a silent protagonist, is so that anyone can, you know, step in and feel like they're the hero. But I feel like if they canonically wrote the story that, like I said, way back when this LP started, that the Warrior Light should be Alamegan, because it really staples everything together with the story. Like, it really does. Guess he's remembering when they were friends and when they did have the same exact goals. Griffin statues. This must be the throne room of Alamigo, but there's a Garlean sitting on it. My Lord Viceroy, our scouts have confirmed the preliminary reports. Baelsar's Wall has fallen to the Eorzean Alliance. The hunt for Omega and the unknown Icon continues, though both yet elude us. My lord, their battle caused considerable damage across the region. Should we perchance divert some of our forces from the search to undertake necessary reconstruction work? Forgive me, my lord, I did not intend... Your will would be done. But you don't even say anything. Guess he's bored. Unknown. My spies tell me the Domans call it Shinryu, and that it proved a match for Omega. Yes, the coming days promise to be most interesting. Most interesting. Oh, a smile. So he likes when the fighting starts. At the far edge of fate, the road begins anew. The heroes look to eastern skies and behold their crimson hue. A dawn of liberation, a gathering storm of blood. Beyond the Great Wall.
The question is, how will the Empire respond to the disappearance of Omega and the Primal? Oh, I didn't see you there. Forgive me. Word from Baelsar's Wall is proving long in the coming, and my mind cannot help but stray to grim places.
Alphino, a message from the Alliance.
It's about time. Pray summon the others at once.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I should have let this quest wait and gone and done the Hildebrand ones. We can go back and do Hildebrand at any time, though. It doesn't have a set, you know, time period within the
General
plot.
Aldin reports that his forces have secured the breach in Baelsar's Wall.
And what of the Primal and Omega?
There is still no sign of either at this time. He writes that they will begin a more thorough investigation shortly. And, as expected, he wishes to petition the aid of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn.
As expected.
The Alliance's decision to capture a part of Baelsar's Wall is open to interpretation.
The wall serves to demarcate Imperial territory, Alamigo included, from the rest of Eorzea. To an observer, the Alliance's actions could be seen as a prelude to invasion.
Yeah, we've been over that.
And the Alliance leaders have no wish to be branded invaders.
You're saying they won't fight for Alamigo? Even after everything that's happened?
Not without the consent of her people, no. Make no mistake, Lys. The Alliance is in complete agreement that the Empire must be purged from Eorzea. However, they will not set foot in Gyr Abania until they have formally secured the consent and cooperation of the Alamigan opposition.
They would have us act as intermediaries.
Precisely. The Scions are uniquely qualified to serve in this capacity. That is to say, Lys's, given her personal connection to the Resistance. Who better than you to broker an agreement between the Alliance and the people of Alamigo? Assuming you are willing, of course.
Of course I am. You know I'd like nothing more.
As for who should accompany you on said diplomatic mission, I had a mind to volunteer myself.
Well, that covers the talking part. But you just know there'll be trouble along the way. Are you available?
Am I available? Ooh, well, when Stormblood came out, I was.
Thanks. It means a lot knowing you'll be there.
I too shall accompany you. Such endeavors are seldom hampered by a surfeit of healers.
Good point. Allow me to offer my services as well.
I have spent quite enough time here of late, so I'll be coming. But we will need someone to keep an eye on things. I trust you have no objections?
None, my lady. Gladly shall I continue to serve as caretaker of the Waking Sands, and there keep watch for signs of primal and Ascian activity both.
As capable as my learned friend undoubtedly is, there are some troubles that may prove too much for a single scion, on account of which I mean to stay.
It is settled then. Let us each see to our preparations.
Send her my love. Oh my, Taru. Oh, that's right. Minfilia was also Alamegan. See, there's also this. There's all this little stuff that you miss if you skip cutscenes or if you skip out on, you know, talking to each NPC, as if this were, you know, an actual single-player RPG or something. And you know, like, I'm sure there's tons of people who don't even realize that Minfilia was an Alamegan.
Ready, my friend? Well then. Tataru, I leave the rising stones in your capable hands.
Don't worry, Alphino. I'll see that the place is still standing when you come back.
Honestly, the Rising Stone should never even be, like, in any danger at all. They have the entire tavern out front. Then there's its geographical location, and then the fact that the Adventurers Guild...
Mistress Y'shtola has unfolded all. You are bound for Girabania?
And all of Rowena's shit and the Revenant's Toll and whatnot. Really, no one should be able to come barking in here very easily at all.
Aye. The Alliance would have us make contact with the Alamegan resistance as soon as possible.
It begins then. As soon it shall in Doma, if the gods are good. 'Tis but a pity it must be now. I am sorry that we shall not be present to fight beside you in the battles to come.
You have stood with us countless times, Lady Yugiri. Pray do not apologize.
Then let us thank you instead. You and yours stood with us from the first, when we came to this land as refugees in search of sanctuary. Loath am I to think what might have become of my people, had you not extended to us the hand of friendship. We will never forget. This I solemnly swear.
Much has changed since first you set foot on these shores. Revenant's Toll stands as a testament to that. I'm sure your people will manage in your absence.
Indeed. They have built a new home for themselves and no longer need me to shepherd them. The time has come for Kozetsu and I to return to our master, to our home.
I know how you feel. It's time I went home too.
Though our battlefields be 1,000 mounds apart, our purpose is one. Let all men hearken to the clarion call of freedom, of liberation, from Eorzea to the far east, that they may rise up and cast down the curse of Garlemald.
Take care, you hear me? When all of this is over, we're going to celebrate. Together. Just you wait.
I should like that very much. Fare you well.
This is a large contingent. Gotta have new clothes, Lise. Oh, showing off her midriff, huh? It's kind of funny because it's pretty much just like a jacket that doesn't even zip up. Like, okay. If I didn't know any better, I'd think Tataru had a thing for the ladies. But, I mean, who wants to think about Lalafels and romance? That's just weird. Yeah, here we go again, back to East Shroud. I mean, it does make sense that we gotta go here again, but... I like nighttime in the Shroud. Yep. Oh, snap. Our first step into sexy territory.
I remember crossing the border, standing in Girabania once more. Me and my fellow scions, the warrior of light among us. Behind us, Baelsar's wall cutting the land in two. Freedom on one side, tyranny on the other. Tyranny and the promise of a new beginning. But one that could only be bought with flames and blood.
That mountain got fucked up by Shinryu and Omega. Here we are. Stormblood! Second expansion. Oh yeah. Aetheryte. Greetings, Silence. On behalf of the Eorzean Alliance, I welcome you to Castrum Ordian. There's that line again, for weal or for woe. Knowing what I know, I actually wish that they would find the Omega weapon. It'd blow them up. Seems like everyone's picked up the Warrior of Light's nodding mannerism. See, at least knows where to go. Like, there's some people out there that are like, oh, we don't even need Lise. We could have done this without her. And it's like, well, I guess we could have bumbled our way towards it. I mean, but this is the plot element that they chose to incorporate. So you should try to think about the positives of it. Honestly, I think East End is a more interesting forest area than a good deal of the Shroud. But, maybe I'm a jerk. Notice we got new battle music. Each expansion has its own battle music, and its own zone musics, and its own zones. So we've got, this is the first zone of 6. So we've got 5 more zones to experience. I guess Alpha Node can't swim. This is medieval times. And there's even people nowadays that don't know how to swim. I met some of them when I joined the Navy. By the end of the Navy, they learn to swim, though. Or by the end of boot camp. If you can't learn to swim, like if you never learn to swim while you're in boot camp, then you get kicked out. But I also had a strong feeling that some guys were just pretending they didn't know how to swim, so they could get out of being PT'd harshly. And I was right. Some of them admitted to it at the end of boot camp. Not to gloss over that moment that Lisa was just talking about. She was ruminating on the fact that the Imperials are trying to tower over us. And how she hates them. We're back to slower mount speeds and no flying. Although you do get to unlock flying in these zones eventually. But once again, it's tied up with the main story quests, so you might as well just ride through and get the main story done. Yep, yeehaw. And not in this video, but in the next video, I'm going to have a funny story, probably, about the start of this expansion. Because it was a time. It was a time. Well, it seems like the Garleans hold the southern reaches of this zone, rather than the northern reaches. It's a glamour, right? If it's just the glamour, can't we just walk on through it? Swing. And this, believe it or not, is actually basically the idle shire of this expansion. How's that for formula breaking?
I remember the old stories. How the breaker of worlds came down from on high and cleft the earth with a single blow. Ralga's Reach, a holy place and a fitting home for the resistance, for the brave and the true, the loyal sons and daughters of Alamigo.
They got cannons. Ralgar kind of reminds me.
Men and women whose souls still cried out for what was lost, for what could be ours again.
Yeah, Ralgar kind of reminds me of Ramu. Lightning, beard, man, staff. Hey, it's Mefrid! You remember him? He was in Quarry Mill. So, before we talk to Conrad and continue on with the story, let's just go ahead and ride in here and get the Aetheryte. And then, we're going to teleport to Quarry Mill and see if Mefrid is still there or not. Just for shits and gigs, before the video ends. More like cute all to this. Let's go see. Let's go see. I'm just curious, you know. I'm just curious. Remember, this is Al Megan, the guy we helped a long time ago. We helped him help his friend, and his friend wound up being a Griffin impersonator. Just goes to show you that sometimes your helping hand doesn't, you know, isn't always lead people to go on good paths. But there was no way we could have known that back then. So what we did was the right thing. There's no way to foresee all of the consequences of your actions. You could guess at them, but son of a gun, Mefrid's gone. Uh-oh, am I disconnecting? I can't untarget him. What's going on? Okay, that was weird. Must have been a lag, but wasn't there another Alamegan lady around here that was mad at Mefrid that we had to talk to at some point? I guess maybe she's not here either. So hey, they didn't fuck up this time. It's not a Rowena situation. Woohoo! Well, the video's almost over, so thank you for watching.